Hello traders and welcome to today's market update. My name is Nick. Taking a look here at the Forex market, we have some interesting moves that I want to get into, talk about some major structural levels as well as other significant points of interest on the charts from a technical perspective. Let's go ahead and dive in, take a look at our first one, which is going to be Euro USD. So taking a look at Euro USD on the 1 hour time frame on Monday, I believe it was, we had talked about the fact that we saw some sort of rally and that there was a good chance that we were going to get some sort of continuation. Now we did come into a level of resistance that market structure actually broke through. You can see if I get my shape out here, right here, you can see that we did have this kind of area of significant resistance. Price started to rally at the start of the week, and you can see we did get that continuation that we had talked about. And next what you saw is that price broke through that level of resistance and actually came and found momentary support off of that very same level, rallying another 52 pips or so, somewhere in that vicinity. Now price is looking like it wants to come back and test that area. So of course, if we get into this area, there may be a good opportunity to look for some sort of confirmation based entry on the long side to ride this potential break to the upside on euro dollar. GBP USD is going to be our next one for the day, guys. What we see is a continued choppy kind of market environment that we were talking about on the last stream or last video on our market update sessions. And you can see that what we have here, if I get my shapes out, you can see if I go to my rectangle, you can see again, we are seeing kind of an interesting little channel here going to the sideways kind of motion rather than what we've been seeing before, which was a very strong bearishness or bearish move here on the pound. So what you can see is pound dollar is again back and forth between these two major areas. And there's a good chance that for the time being that will continue, right? So you can see price is kind of oscillating, finding resistance up on the top and finding support down in the bottom region. And once that breaks, we may see some sort of further opportunity. For example, if we see a break to the upside, you can see if we saw a break to the upside breaking down that rejection level, then we could potentially look for some sort of retest entry, maybe with some sort of confirmation or candlestick pattern, there to kind of govern a potential entry there. Same thing on the downside, right? So if we see a break, we could look for some sort of potential retest entry to go short and ride this market lower. So that's GBP USD. Let's go ahead and jump into USD JPY, which did catch a bounce yesterday. However, we are still in the context of a very large movement to the downside. You can see if I take a look at the daily bar, you can see again overall this market moving to the south side, trending lower and lower. We did get a significant bounce yesterday, but looks like kind of price didn't close quite high enough. You can see price did get rejected there on the last on yesterday's candle. Now if I go back to the 4 hour chart, again big selling off here on USD JPY, did find some sort of a short-term bounce. We'll see if we can get a continuation or if we can get a push kind of to break through that level. For example, I want to kind of highlight this area here. You can see that this area was where price ultimately was rejected. We did try to wick through that level. You can see we did get a wick kind of going up above that level, but we could not close above that level. So looking for some sort of close above that may be key in finding some sort of continuation to the upside. For example, if we do make a move up here and we get a candle, let's just pretend this is a beautiful candle like the ones to the left. You can see that we have this candle here, and let's say that it closes. Well, that might be an indication that sellers are getting a little bit weak here and unable to hold that level. We could look for some sort of retest and go long on kind of a continuation concept here on USD JPY on the 4 hour time frame. Brent crude is going to be our next one, which is trending lower. You can see price kind of breaking through this major level here. You can see this zone here, which was a level of support. You can see seeing now that price is trying to break through that zone. Now we'll see if price can break through or if this is just a momentary fake out to the downside, but should be interesting to ultimately see if we can hold that level or if that level is going to break. If that level breaks, we have some interesting stuff to talk about because we might be headed back down to test this longer term low, which is down in this general vicinity down here, right? So if price can make its move down all this way, we might see some sort of break and continuation down to that next structural zone. zone. As we often see in markets, market likes to trade towards zones, right? Between zones, it usually does not move very much, but then it wants to find confirmation and break through or hold a particular zone to find kind of market direction. WTI crude is going to look pretty much the same. Now, one thing I do want to mention about this one is you can see this level here actually broke a little bit sooner. You can see we also did close beneath all of this kind of major structural levels, including these kind of wicks down here. You can see we did close underneath that. So that is significant in terms of WTI crude. Going to be interesting to watch this one as well in the coming days. Now, from this perspective, if we go back to the daily time frame, we also have a similar level to Brent crude, which is down in this general vicinity here. Price may be headed down to test that general area as we are seeing sellers maintain their strength in this area currently. Next one is gold, which of course is continuing its motion to the upside. Now we talk about this almost every single market update, it feels like, because it is still valid to talk about, and that is this bullish kind of bull flag here that we are seeing playing out on gold. You can see here is our flag. We talked about this for weeks now, so it's been pretty cool to see this one actually play out. So again, we saw a bullish flag forming here. You can see price making a movement to the high side, chopping around in between this, breaking out, retesting, and actually continuing from there. And that's exactly what we had talked about. You can go back in the old videos and see we had talked about this on XAU USD. Fantastic little play through here as price did kind of do a perfect little bull flag here to the long side. So not looking to short, not looking to go long here, but from a perspective of kind of just looking through the technicals, you can see that historically we did get a really great signal here to go long potentially on XAU USD. A couple weeks back, that was just an idea, and it actually played out really, really well. So continuing forward, you can see gold is looking a little bit stretched, but the thing about gold that I mention every time is that it is one of those pairs that can trend very, very strongly for a very long time. So I usually do not try and fight the move. So not looking to short here, but you can see XAU USD looking pretty good from the terms of kind of a played out trend, looking pretty solid to the upside. New Zealand dollar is going to be our next one, guys, which actually took a really big dip on some news yesterday. We did break underneath this significant level of support right around this area. You can see that this green area was our level of support. Price did break below. It did. This daily has not closed yet, but we are looking pretty underneath that level significantly right now. I would not be surprised, however, to see some sort of continuation back up, and ultimately we'll have to see how this particular day closes. If we get a close up here, it might be very different than if we get a close down here, right? So that kind of tells us two different things about the market. Are sellers going to be able to hold this push through, or is this going to be a fake out and we're going to see a push higher? A lot of times we do see that. A lot of times we get those kind of false breakouts and those stop hunts, right? So interesting to watch New Zealand USD. I think that at least we come back to potentially test this area. Could be wrong, of course. There's no guarantees in trading, but just looking from a technical perspective, I think we might see some sort of a retest there. Euro New Zealand, similar story. You can see price getting rejected off of these kind of highs that were broken into on that news, but again, might be pulling back to this general vicinity area here, which is kind of our major structural level of support. Aussie dollar, kind of similar story. We did get some news that on New Zealand that did kind of make Aussie pairs move kind of in sync, right? So we did get kind of a blast downwards yesterday, but you can see retracing pretty nicely and potentially headed back to test this general area here, which was a level of support, broken through. May act maybe on the shorter time frames, looking at maybe a intraday trade, you might be able to find some sort of resistance here. Guys, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you got something out of this market update, and I will see you next time.